The technology that allows you to live a healthy life eternally, this house as an individual would reject immortality, right? So without any further ado, I'd like to call upon the first speaker from the gut bench to open the case within 7 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, just because you live a very good quality of life is the direction in which the affirmative side wishes to go. Immortality does not guarantee that the quality of life that you are going to ensure, the legacy that you live to the rest of society, the legend that you are going to ensure that other people read and other people are motivated to follow is not a benefit that is going to exist under a model in where immortality is something that is granted. Therefore, on the affirmative side, we are here to simply argue on the principle that quality should always be prioritized over quantity. Based on that principle, I'm going to provide you 3 substantive points in my speech. First of all, why the priority of life should always be based on quality, and this is going to be a discussion about what life means, to be frankly honest. I can't do that in 7 minutes, but I'll try my very fucking best. Okay? But second of all, I'm also going to discuss to you upon why immortality actually decreases that quality of life. The very fact and the very notion that you can live eternally actually decreases many motivations that is only existent in a context in where you have limited resources. And third of all, I'm also going to discuss to you upon the tangible benefits, because despite this might be an assuming motion, there are tangible harms that is existent under a context of immortality. My third argument is going to discuss about why death ensures positive tangible messages and benefits to the remainders of the society that is living in that world. Not much of a model, more of a clarification. And the status quo right now under this big fantastic world, you pop a pill, right? And if you pop that pill, you are going to live immortally and you are not going to die. It's as simple as that. This motion is about a choice of these individuals on whether or not they should reject that pill or not. And we are arguing on the affirmative that everyone in the society, including you guys and the opposition, should reject that pill. Let's go on to my first substantive material. Why the priority should be based on quality of life over quantity. And the main principle that we are arguing on the affirmative is that quantity is only useful when the quality is a premise, and when quality is ensured in the life that you are living. The only reason why that makes sense is because every single life is meaningful to individuals, but the reason upon why that life is meaningful is different from every single individual. But the point here, Mr. Speaker, is that in the status quo and where everyone actually dies, you regret that you don't do something only in a context in where you have limited time. So when a person is at his deathbed, that's the only moment in where he revitalizes and he rethinks his life and saying that I should have actually gave my grandson more money, or maybe I should have won ICUT when I came here 2 times with the same teammates on the same motion. So the very fact that you are actually going to admit to that quality is important when you have limited time. But that retribution, that thought process is only existent when you have limited time, Mr. Speaker. But the context and the point that we're trying to advocate is that because these values are different from person to person, the very fact that you cherish those values is something that of an important value that we are trying to discuss about. Like, for example, if you are going to climb Mount Everest, the possibility of you dying is exponentially increasing. But despite that possibility of you dying still existed, we allow these individuals to do that, and people are willing to climb Mount Everest because the priority of the values that you have as individuals is different from person to person. So therefore, even under this particular context, these individuals are prioritizing that quality despite the fact that that quantity might be decreased in the status quo. And therefore, they are willing to prioritize that because fundamentally speaking, that is what makes their life meaningful, and that is only going to be in the context where it is actually cherished. Let's go on to my second substantive point upon why immortality actually decreases that quality. And this is going to be the substantial argument upon the harms that we're trying to discuss about. First of all, on an individual aspect, you cannot cherish the true meaning of your current life. You cannot cherish the current moment that I have. The reason why I need to really enjoy the moment right now is because I might not get another opportunity to come to ICUT in the future with these 2 teammates. In a context in where too many opportunities are granted to individuals, like Mitsushi, who wins ICT every single time that he comes. If he has too many opportunities, then he does not cherish the individual ICUT moments, right? He will not cry the last time that he beat me in ICT finals. He cried and cried because that he thought that he had limited opportunities, but he came with Thomas again and so on and so forth. Expectation is something that you need to understand, and that true meaning is something that you need to cherish as an individual. The moment that you have continuous opportunities is where that you cannot cherish that moment. But secondly, we also believe that the actions that you conduct also change based on how you treat other individuals as well. If I can see NC every single day, the amount of treatment and respect that I give to my seniors is going to decrease dramatically. Because I see him every day, I see him in his underwear and like everything. But the point here is that my treatment to him actually gets better and the quality actually increases the moment where I can only see him at ICUT or I can only see him at drinking parties. So therefore, that's the reason why room parties are actually better in this particular context. But third of all, we also believe that it decreases the incentive for people to leave and maintain legacies, Mr. Speaker.
Sir.
I'll accept one after a second, okay? Only death can motivate individual people to do exponential things because you have limited time, Mr. Speaker. But because you are in a context of limited time, that's the main motivation on why, and that's the main reason and motivation for you to put exponential passion and exponential effort into achieving the goals that you have. If you had unlimited amount of time, then obviously you could just take your time, relax, have a drink, and then play some games. I don't know, come to a debate tournament, and then you would go on to those things. But the point here is that we need this innovation and we need this passion in order to progress the society, but that motivation no longer exists. Sure.
So is the only reason you're trying to win this tournament because you might not be able to win it again in the future? Or is it because this win has intrinsic value to you, whether or not this opportunity comes again?
Alright, the point here is that I don't think I'm going to come to ICUT again. I only have a limited amount of opportunity, but the very fact that I'm able to win this tournament is meaningful within itself, and that is the meaning that I'm willing to cherish, alright? So let's move on to my third substantive material. Why death ensures positive, tangible messages to other people, right? Because first of all, it motivates individual people to conduct good moral actions. The moment that you take death away from the equation is the moment where you take things like religion away from the equation. One of the main reasons why religion is one of the most important and valuable values in our society is because the fact of religion actually motivates an individual to conduct good moral deeds. Because you know for a fact that God is looking over to you, and that's one of the main motivations on why you do not commit crime, why you do not commit actions that is harming other individuals. The moment in where you take death out of the equation is the moment in where things like religion, which is a good motivation for people to conduct good moral actions, is taken out of the way. But second of all, you don't have an incentive to share your wealth to other individuals. And the main reason why this is the case is because the moment in where you become immortal is the moment where you become selfish. The reason why you become selfish is because you can continue to reap the benefits from this progress. So that's the reason why the Bill Gates and the Manila Foundation exists to share wealth to other poor people in the society. Because they know for a fact that they have limited time and they want that wealth to be redistributed. The moment in where you take death out of the equation is the moment in where Bill Gates wants to continuously profit from this process and wants to continuously profit from the capital that he has gained as an individual. Mr. Speaker, we are living in a context of limited resources and limited time. The only reason why people are able to motivate and conduct good actions is because they know for a fact that they have limited time and they need to leave good legacies. We're proud to propose.
Present the case within 7 minutes.
I'm happy because the pill that Taeyong had talked about ensures both quality and quantity of individual welfare. We oppose the motion. So what we can do with health in eternity, we can do with health what we can do physically, because that we can aspire things because we are physically capable or mentally motivated to pursue some kind of good for my life. With eternity, you don't have to care about your time limits. Therefore, there's no concern for the time a time at the resource limited to you. We can have an infinite opportunity for your pursuit or happiness or good by being health and immortality. We think that's an immense benefit for individual. I'm going to talk about two things. Firstly, why immortality with health allows individual to self-aspire and what's immensely benefit. Secondly, why immortality intertwined with health allows individual to love others. That is to say, fraternity for human society. Before that, independent rebuttal. They talk about how quality is important, but they don't define what quality matters. We rather define quality as the self-aspiration as well as the self-satisfaction of his or her life. That was going to be substantiated in my argument. But they had three bizarre analyses. Firstly, Mitsushi cried because he is going to death. That's not the case. He was crying because he was happy at that time. Victory was good in and of itself, as Keita had talked about. No thanks. It is not realistic to characterize. At the moment he cried, he concerned about the future death. That's unrealistic. But furthermore, legacy, those sort of things. No thank you. Legacy and the desire to something special is going to be motivated even on our side, because mere preference, fame, recognition of others to achieve some sort of good in society motivate me to, for example, beat these veterans, for example, in order to have victory in ICUT. And also, people become selfish when they're immortal. That's unrealistic, because elderly in Japanese context, for example, lobby against Japanese government in order for a pension system to be prolonged or to be friendly to elderly politics to be ensured on their side. The moment of the fear of death motivates people to concretize his or her property not to be taken by others. So therefore, there's not that kind of benefit Taeyong wants to talk about is bizarre and unrealistic. So therefore, let's move on to my substantive. What we can do with immortality and health, and we can do once again to self-aspire. What we can, so there are three things. Firstly, in aspiration, human beings. Life of human beings would be flourished when your life purpose is achieved, or you'll realize or find your purpose and attempt to try to do so. We are satisfied or happy when, or for example, when as a debater, won a debate tournament at ICUT as a debater, or to have a good and great girlfriend, or eat food you want to eat, for example, because I'm gourmet, for example. When your dream is actualized, there is a moment in which individual is happy. Immortality with health allows individual to have a maximum opportunity for that dreams to come true. And if the dreams would come true, and everything that's immensely benefit. Regardless of the size of your dream, it is the maximum opportunity as well as the option for your dreams to come true. We think as an individual have to opt in to that choice because it is relevant to your happiness. It also allows you to challenge that self-aspiration. We think the self-improvement. I lost like 2 times at ICUT, at semi, at the octo-final, for example. But I would like to challenge in order for my dreams to come true. Health as well as immortality allows me to challenge over and over and over again in order for me to improve better. And that the improvement in and of itself is something important because it allows you to seek how you can be more happier in the future. It also alleviates unfortunate social phenomena such as depression, for example, because depression comes from no hope. Because people lose hope because you feel you cannot do anything you want to do and you die. When the fear of death is alleviated, people would eventually have a hope. Therefore, that's immensely beneficial. No, thank you. And also, it's important. Also, immortality also allows people to choose the various lifestyle choice option. That is very unfortunate. My passed out grandfather had realized that rather he had spent his life as a teacher, but to spend as a calligrapher, for example, was a beneficial lifestyle in which he is going to be pursuing. But it is unfortunate at time, mortality disallowed individuals to seek for his or her immense happiness. This immortality not only allows people to choose, but also to train what they want to do. So, before moving on to my further elaboration, yes.
In the context of unlimited time, it allows people to make excuses not to conduct good moral actions. That excuse is no longer existed when you don't have unlimited time.
That is not the case. It is going to explain my second point. So furthermore, limitation of time might be discriminatory to individuals. What do I mean by this? I am in fact talented in philosophical thinking, those sort of things. But like my kind friend, for example, but kind but quite like realistic, is going to say, oh, but your talent is not that appreciated. Your talent of philosophy do not make profit in the society. But what if I'm going to be immortal and society is now like gradually changing in the future? So that is to say, my chance to become appreciated within the society is more likely to be achieved when, because the time is limited, that is to say, the age in which you're opting into is going to be arbitrarily decided by the moment of your life. Therefore, immortality is more likely to alleviate that concern, for people to recognize and that your unique talent as your individual is more likely to be socially accepted. That's immensely beneficial. Second point of the talent is therefore is going to be about how individual is going to be love society in general. Prolonging life will allow individuals to love the things you love, but also allows the individual to love human beings overall. Because with the change of human society, it allows individuals to see and recognize the various good and beautiful things available in human society. It allows individuals to appreciate how great human societies are. I have very pleasure to stand on this debating community with very rich experience, because I was able to recognize how the very talented individual is existing in debating circuit. I'm very appreciated to opt into my human society. That motivates for me to more contribute to debating society more, in the sense that I'm going to be educator, for example, my future ADI, for example, maybe, and also to become trainer of my juniors, for example. It allows individual, for example, in general, donate, for example, in order to maintain a good society possible. What we have shown you, very simple. Immortality intertwined with health allows individual aspiration. It allows to love to others. We are very proud of it.
Attack the leader of opposition. You're ready to go.
Mr. Speaker, I understand myself and every other human being, right? If you like to make excuse. If I want to go to ICT, but I knew, okay, Samuel is going to come. Okay, fuck it, because I'm not gonna win. That's why I can wait next tournament. And I see other people is coming, like Jan is going to, okay, fuck it again, because I'm not gonna win anyway. So I'm going to wait next tournament. Next tournament, Rishad is coming, okay, this is the opportunity. I'm going to We think that making and achieving certain purpose of your life is not easy. You must push yourself harder and harder and harder.
Sure, sure.
That is why you shouldn't make any excuse. You should say, within this limited amount of time, I have achieved certain things. That is why people work harder, study harder. Sometimes they don't sleep, bleeding from the nose, but they want to do that because they have limited amount of time. We think this is the problems of their policy, right? They said, even if you have a limited amount of time, you're not going to make any excuse without any reasoning. But we think that people make excuse. Ask yourself whether or not you can make excuse or not. People appreciate short-term benefit over the long-term benefit. That is the human basic instinct. This is the basic economic theory I learned because we have to economic debate semi-finals. You should understand that, right? We think that when you have a limited time, you will follow your instinct. But I have unlimited time, that is why I overcome my human instinct. We think that this is the only way to make your life meaningful, because you can achieve something from your time and your life. More than that, because I have a limited amount of time, I have a schedule for myself, right? I have achieved something in 20s. I have achieved that in 30. I have achieved that 40. But under your policy, you don't have any time frame. That is why you can achieve many stuff under your policy, right? We think this is the problem, right? More than that, they said, you know what? Individuals' talent it can be appreciated in the future. That is why it is very, very discriminatory in the status quo. I don't think that is true, right? Because everybody have the same time, so somebody's talent is ignored. I think this is not discriminatory, but this is equal. But more than that, the problems of their policy, we think a new idea pops up and then new talent can be appreciated, right? Because when 50 years ago in Korea, if you wear miniskirt and then the policeman, trace you and then have drawers and then they check, length of the miniskirt and then kill you. So in that case, even if you have a nice body, nice neck, your talent is not going to be appreciated by the culture, right? Problems of your policy, if I have a power structure and I have a lot of power, I'm going to maintain my power structure. What's the motivations I change my benefit, right? Unless you can rebut this point, you cannot win this debate, right? Because the new changes always comes from new ideas. Without new ideas, you can't change. Why is it relevant to the debate? If I don't have to die, and I'm not going to die, I lose more incentive to have children, right? The reason why I have children because I want to maintain my legacy. Quite frankly, you think about yourself, right? You make your mommy and daddy's life really hard. You try every day, moms should spend a lot of money. So they want to maintain their legacy. That's why they have a lot of children and sons and daughters. Maybe some people is not, but many people do that, right? So if there is no new generation, new ideas is not going to pop up. Meaning your talent is not going to be recognized by the society, right? So your discrimination argument cannot stand. I'm going to discriminate you. You want a POI?
So even if people are motivated, lack of health as well as a limit of time inhibits physically and mentally individual to pursue their
I think
happiness.
this is very offensive. Just because I'm unhealthy, that doesn't mean I can contribute to the society, right? We see many, many people. Stephen Hawking, right? He have a physical problem, but I think Stephen Hawking is way more smarter than six brain of this, podium, right? We think that you shouldn't say that. Even if if I have a problems, I have to push myself harder. We think that motivates people, that brings more benefit to the society, right? I think he still cannot understand. That is why second speaker just give them a little bit of search, or you should engage with our point, right? Then next question, whether people have a motivation to share something if they have an unlimited time. We said no. And my first speaker gave you many, many points. No response whatsoever. First, religious idea, right? There will be no religion because I'm not going to die, right? So I don't have to share something based on the doctrine, right? More than that, people cannot get any spiritual comfort from the religion. Why? If I have many, many bad stuff every day, then I question myself. Why me? Why? And I saw the cross, and then church said, this is the God's, thinking. This is why you can't understand. Come to my church and I will give you the spiritual comfort, right? This kind of benefit is not going to exist under their policy. We think this is a problem. More than that, rich people is not going to share their wealth. Why? Because I drive BMW, Benz, with many nice cocktails and many nice goods. Then I'm not going to share my wealth with other people, right? Why do I have to do that? The biggest way to redistribute wealth is the inheritance tax. Under their policy, there will be no inheritance tax. But biggest problems of interest rate, if I'm rich, I probably have a capital, right? If I have a capital, I can easily attract more capital, meaning I'm going to reach more. Then I'm going to easily utilize my political connection because I can lobby more, right? That is why under your policy, you can't challenge the social structure. We think this is the problem. And his point is right. And these people is going to protest. Government, you should give me more pension, longer, more. That is why these people is going to get more. People like us, young, cannot get anything. I'm young too, so, right? So we think that is the problems under their policy, right? Mr. Speaker, we think that the biggest way to change the society having new idea. Without new idea, we might not have the capitalism. We might not think about the poor. We might not think about the, new ideas, right? These new ideas can happen when there is a new generation comes to our world. Under their policy, they can't have any new generation. I know you're a new generation, there is you challenge us, right? We think this is great. So don't deter people to have a new generation. We think this is the problem. For those reasons, I'm very proud to support this.
and thank you, second speaker from the Galas. Now I'd like to invite the second speaker from the upbench to make a speech.
It was interesting when Prime Minister began his speech by talking about when people regret at their deathbed what they could have done in life. For example, the risks you did not take, time you did not spend with your family, things like that. All the things that could be possible, that people could do under our paradigm. The presumption of their side of the house is that just because we excuse a certain number of opportunities, we're never going to take those opportunities ever again. That's a false presumption. I'm not challenging their side of the house just because I'm not going to be able to debate like 4 years later, something like that. I'm doing this for the sake of the moment. That is something that their side of the house never understood in this debate. One point of substantive to further the case of side opposition. I'm going to be talking about how we determine the quality of life, because their quality of life argument was entirely assertive. They talked about quality of life as if it's a legacy, as if it's something that other people decide for you. We believe that's something that's extremely problematic. Before that, many points of refutation to their side of the house. Number one, their main assertion was that quality of life trumps quantity. We don't think that this is something that's really true in the first, or not necessarily true in the first place. Because even if the quality of my life is suboptimal at this moment, it's not a reason for me to commit suicide at this moment, right? Because there's always a chance of the quality of life improving in the future. We don't think this was really a relevant criteria in this debate. Second of all, they told us no thank you about how people cannot cherish the moment right now if the moment comes again. The problem is, this moment is not going to come again ever in the future. This ICUT, with this motion, said these members at this point in time is never going to come again. That is reason enough for me to cherish this moment. Just because an ICUT comes in the future doesn't mean that this particular moment comes in the future. That's reason enough for me to cherish. But second of all, even if I cannot cherish this moment, that's not really a problem insofar as I get an opportunity to get another opportunity to create a moment which I can cherish in the future. That's entirely deprived under their paradigm. So in their paradigm, they also never ever said or never gave us any confirmation or absolute never gave us any analysis that would allow us to be confident of the fact that we would genuinely or definitely come to ICUT under their paradigm. Because these people could still excuse themselves under their paradigm as well. We say that it's at least better if you have the ability to excuse yourself, but if you have the ability to take back that excuse in the future, which is only available in their paradigm. No, thank you. Then they told us about religion. This was really assertive, right? They assume that the only value of religion is the importance of dictating about the afterlife. But religion also tells you about your current life, right? And it tells you how you should live your life, how you should create your own values, which is equally important and also prevalent in our paradigm. Then they told us about how people are going to become more selfish under their paradigm. We don't think so, right? If people make bad moral judgments in their paradigm, people are going to die someday, right? If I'm going to live eternally, I'm going to have to live with the fact that I was immoral for my entire life. I'm going to have to live with the fact that I did not donate money, for example, to thousands of starving children and let them die for my entire life. That is a lot more incentive for me to donate more money. We also think that they only talked about inheritance, right? Like, Bill Gates is not dead yet. He's not going to be dead in the near future. So if they're saying that Bill Gates is donating money right now because he's going to die someday, that's an entirely illogical argument. That doesn't make any sense. But moreover, we don't think that this morality is something that's significantly important. Because we don't think that people's lives should be lived for the sake of sucking up to societal moral values, right? That's not how people should live their lives. People should be free to do what they want. No, thank you. Then they told us about how, about how you're going to excuse yourself not to do something, not to take risks, not going to challenge yourself, something like that. They seem to assume that just because you don't challenge yourself to do something, that life is less worth living. We say that just because you are sleeping at home right now instead of debating, doesn't mean that your life is any less worthful, right? Because if you think that sleeping at that moment is what is happy for you, if you think that that is better than debating in ICUT, that is a choice that you should be allowed to take. That is fully okay. Second of all, we should also say that at some point in time, you're probably going to get tired of excusing yourself, right? You're probably going to someday think that maybe I should go to ICUT now, because if I do this forever, I'm never going to get the chance to win at ICUT. That's probably what's going to happen in the long term. What the problem is, people are not necessarily going to be able to challenge their, for example, laziness in their paradigm. When they're not able to challenge their laziness, they lose the chance to be able to challenge that forever. We at least have a chance. Finally, they told us about how new ideas are never going to emerge. As if new ideas only emerge because people die, right? That makes absolutely no sense. Like, I'm not coming up with new arguments here because I'm going to die in the near future or something like that, right? People come with ideas in response to their environment, in response to other ideas. There are all sorts of methods in which ideas can be created. Those things are not relevant to whether we die or not.
No, we said if I am powerful enough and I'm the top of the power structure, I don't have any incentive to accept the new ideas. That's the point.
Number one, we would suggest that people are selfishly motivated to remain in structures of power, to assert their structures of power, precisely because their lives are limited. If you, for example, are in a structure of power right now, if you continually oppress other people, then you're probably going to have to live with that for your entire life under our paradigm. We said that incentivize these people to give the chance to other individuals and to be more moral, to be more kind, which is something that's beneficial from your own criteria. Let's talk about the quality of life and what we think is important. Because the problem is that there's the house seem to assume that the quality of life is something that's retrospectively calculated. That's calculated by how other people perceive your life in retrospect. The problem is, after you die, you're not going to be able to evaluate your own life. You're not going to exist. That's why we think that your life should be evaluated, the quality of your life should be evaluated on how you feel while you are living, because that's the only moment under which you are capable of understanding your life. What we have to recognize is the quality of your life, or how you evaluate the quality of your life, it's something that is internally constructed, but at the same time it's something that you have to be continuously thinking. It's not something that is definite, it's something that you continuously seek for under any circumstance. That's why we would say that their side of the house decreases the quality of life. Because what happened on their side is that people's lives are dictated by scriptures in society. You're told that when you're 20, you have to, for example, study. When you're 30, you have to have a good job. When you're 40, you have to succeed in your job and get into a good position. People don't have the time to evaluate or understand how they should construct their own lives, how they should evaluate their own life, how they should find their purpose in life. Under their paradigm, when these people are rushed and these people don't have the time to think, they're dictated by society. That's why we think that many individuals, for example, many seniors in this room would rather not be working but debating, but because they have only a limited amount of time, they are incapable of debating and forced to work even though they would rather not. That's extremely harmful for these individuals. We would rather that these individuals be able to they do whatever they want, because as long as you are living, you have another chance of doing it over again. Even if you make some mistakes, as they say, our side of the house can redo those mistakes, their side can't. Ladies and gentlemen, our side of the house believes that in your deathbed, most people would not want to regret their life. Our side of the house gives the opportunity for you to relive everything and do everything that you ever wanted, not have to regret at the deathbed. That's why we oppose.
Second speaker on the block. Now I'd like to invite the government witness.
Mr. Chair, team government side think that the beauty of life is appreciated because it's tied to the concept of death and the concept of limited time. There are only two things I wanted to talk about. First, to clarify basically all of the confusion, because it seems now, after the previous speaker has spoken, as if there's no debate, right? First, I'd like to talk about how it affects the individual, whether it provides, a better situation for the individual or not. And second, does it create more benefits for the society or not, right? So first thing, let's talk about the individual, the intrinsic value of things, and the quality of life, right? Because according to them, there's an intrinsic value of life, of regardless whether the time is there, you will be able to appreciate it. We don't think so. We think that intrinsic value of things are actually tied to the concept of life, of time, right? You get to less appreciate it if you will be able to live forever. Like, for example, the concept of life, right? We think that life is very intrinsically valuable because we think that, everyone has limited time to live. Right? We think that it becomes useful because we want to protect them, that they get to live a more decent life. But then again, they said that, it's also about how you feel at that particular moment. But this kind of analysis is not mutually exclusive to them, right? Because even in our situation, whether you've decided a good thing, not so good thing, in your situation, you get to appreciate things. Sometimes we even get to justify things, right? Later, I'd like to talk about why even sufferings and, letting go of other choices is actually meaningful also for other people, especially when you add, when you put the concept of sacrifice, right? Something that you won't be able to get from the opposition side, right? Because their main point was that, oh, at least if you get to live eternally, you get to aspire more. Like, why is that? Why would you aspire more where in fact you get to know that you get to live healthy, right? Eternally. And other people get to live healthy as well, right? We think that we aspire things to get better right now because we think there are limited time and limited resources, right? That's why we want to provide food for everyone. That's why we want to add we think that education should be a basic right. And that's why we think that even the pension should be given to all of these elderly because they have limited time so that they get to appreciate things. The point here is that it breeds values of, of cooperation and sensitivity to others, right? Now, let's look at the comparative. Without death, or with a healthy body, we don't think these things will happen, right? We don't think that people become selfish, right? That's why we agree that maybe they'll be able to maximize all opportunity. But we think that's very selfish because they won't care anymore, right? They won't even care about their body because you'll be able to be healthy anyway. I won't even care how it affects you because you'll be healthy anyway, right? It breeds this kind of society that we don't want to live in, right? And that's basically problematic because at the end of the day, even the concept, this idea of maximizing opportunity is not even mutually exclusive to them. We can even maximize opportunity also in our time because when it comes to situation anyway, the moment, that fleeting moment is the most important thing that we need to value, right? Because at that moment you would say that, oh, it was meaningful for me to do it, right? So there is actually still the benefit that you're saying also happens in the present situation. But what we say is that with this kind of idea, it breeds more problem. There's no unique benefit actually that we've heard coming from the opposition side. But yes.
So if everyone is able to live a fulfilling life, which they never regret, why did you also say that people also regret their life at deathbed?
Anyway, here's the thing. Because I'll respond to you by responding also to your previous speaker. Because one of their point also said that at least the nice thing about being like a god, like you get to live eternally, is that you get to choose things that you really like, right? But we think again that's not mutually exclusive, right? Because you need to have a calculus that at this moment, whether I live eternally or not, should I choose this or should I choose that? Right? You are still foregoing other things at that moment. We think timing is everything. It's very important. So regardless you live eternally or not, you will still be losing anything. You don't really get to enjoy everything that you're saying because things change, in one moment to the other, right? But more importantly, that's still fine, even though you get to let go of things, right? We think that in our side, you get to appreciate more humanistic values in terms of, of appreciating the concept of limited choices and suffering. Because, for example, in those people have devoted their time to other, they knew that they've actually done something useful of their life. Even though to some extent it might be at their disadvantage, but at least they knew that it was something good. We all know that when you talk about love, it's always tied to the concept of sacrifice anyway, right? And that's basically what we're trying to say, that the life that we're having right now is basically meaningful. Because in their case, you don't really get to care to other people. Like, why should I think of their well-being? Because I knew for the fact anyway that they'll be fine anyway. There's no incentive for you to care, right? And that's basically the thing. So even though we said that yes, most often than not, it's nice to some extent that maybe in our context, there will be people who will be regretting. And we're not denying that fact. But at least those things are things that we're willing to buy. Because even those things becomes a story that you get to tell the next generation for them to get to appreciate things. And that's basically the next thing I wanted to talk about, the societal effect. Because I don't think that they were able to engage in this, to NC's argument that there's a problem in terms of generating new ideas and there's a problem in terms of challenging dominant structures in the present situation. Yeah, it's true. You can always have new ideas even, in our generation right now. But what's really the problem, right? It's actually the problem that we get to see in past history is that a certain generation becomes the obstacle of the new generation, right? Because the kind of upbringing is different, right? Because there would be new technologies which to some extent neglecting the previous things that they thought was useful. And that's basically what we're saying. Maybe in our situation, it's easier for us to be able to use and to be able to, venture new ideas. Even for, even in terms of the discussion of structures in our society. We think that the present situation is good. Because right now, people who are powerful, like Jackie Chan, for example, knew he's gonna die soon, then I'm fine, I'm gonna give all my resources to these people, I'm gonna donate it. But in a situation that he won't, of course he wants it, right? Because he wants to do other things also. And that's why to some extent, even when it comes to political power, there would always be incentive for these people to stay in power and make sure that others will be, not on the same level to them because they wanted to maintain a certain structure. Because at the end of the day, if you happen to notice, humans are basically selfish. We want to improve our situation. And this is basically strengthening the kind of evil that we have inside. Knowing that everyone will be fine anyway, so I shouldn't care about anyone. But then again, knowing that there will be a certain tragedy that everyone will be suffering, that maybe at the end of the day, we might die. Perhaps, it changes the kind of calculus that we have. It allows people to cooperate in order for us to at least to have a better situation. We don't think that they get to do that. That's why you get the story of Greek gods fighting against each other, right? They're very selfish. That's the kind of world that the opposition is actually trying to promote. That's why the gods are even selfish with human beings. I'm proud to die, have a chance to die. Thank you.
Second government web, I'd like to invite the optional speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not really sure about what affirmative bench wants to do in this debate. Because we agree that the quality of life is something that's extremely important. We also agree that different kinds of opportunity that you guarantee to these individuals on the ground is something that's extremely important. But as a matter of fact, we don't think that sacrifice or any of the benefit that came from the affirmative bench was mutually exclusive. Just because you tie it with time doesn't mean that that does not exist on their side of opposition. Sacrifice still does exist, especially if these people are extremely selfish. They will obviously still have feelings. The time does not stop. You still will interact with different kinds of people under the side of opposition. So all their benefit about religion or moral action, about different kinds of benefit that came from the affirmative bench can also be achieved by the side of opposition. But the mutually exclusive benefit that we're able to achieve on their side of opposition on a comparative is we're able to maximize the choices of these individuals. We told them that you have eternal life, that you can spend whatever time you can, whatever time you want to spend on each and every single of those individuals' benefit. That's an extremely important benefit that we brought up onto on the opposition, never to be responded by the side affirmative. I'll be answering three questions in my speech. Firstly, is the motivation of achieving thing a unique benefit of the affirmative bench? Secondly, is group moral action something that we need is extreme mutual exclusive benefit that cannot be achieved on their side of opposition? But lastly, which side really cherishes the current moment, or cherishes the very individual's happiness and the quality of life is both paradigm? So firstly, motivation.
Sir.
But before that, if you have any questions.
So I don't think you guys proved the basic stuff. Why suddenly people motivate themselves?
Okay.
People who never motivate.
Let's think about the first issue, right? Why do people motivate on their side of opposition? Because we have to understand that every single individual has a preference, and every individual obviously have an inherent curiosity to every single thing. I have an inherent curiosity to actually look at different kinds of news. I also have an inherent curiosity to look at different kinds, listen to different kinds of music. The fact is, we have to understand that people aspire to do anything regardless of whether you actually live for your whole life or you do not live for your whole life. You do work hard even on their side of opposition because you want many money to be able to buy things that actually define your happiness on their side of opposition. So you have to understand that it wasn't even a mutually exclusive benefit that came from the affirmative bench. Because on a comparison, we have to understand that people's realization of motivation, people's realization of what they want to do differs to every single individual and when and what you do in every single instances. Which means that if I feel that I like debating right now, that exactly is what I define as a happiness. But moreover, I will also have the motivation to be able to do other things as well. That wasn't a mutually exclusive benefit that came from the affirmative bench. But moreover, what we also have to understand that with that, you simply stop this motivation in any situation. Because no matter how much you actually study hard, or no matter how much you work hard under the government bench, your death simply defines that your happiness is over at the point at which you die in that specific moment. Which is something that's extremely problematic. Because no matter how much you work hard, no matter how much you debate and try hard in every single moment of your life, you won't be able to actualize all your happiness within the affirmative bench, and that creates a limitation to what you can do and what you cannot do, which nicely on to my second issue. What exactly is group moral actions, right? Because we never saw any analysis that came from the affirmative bench as to why exactly is this good moral action something that's extremely important. Because they conceded that the purpose of individuals to live and the individuals on the ground define happiness differently, which means that if certain individuals doesn't necessarily want to have an opt-in to a moral action, we don't think that's something that we should deny to these individuals as well. But even if we were to concede to the best case of the affirmative bench, in fact, we think that these people will be able to opt in into a much more optimal choice on their side of opposition. Because through time and through when you have the eternal time on their side of opposition, you're able to think over these different kinds of issues as to whether that choice something as an optimal choice under the society. We have to understand that even on their side of opposition, these people will still interact and these people will still see that poor people suffer within ghettos and poverty, which means that they still will feel sympathy on their side of opposition, which means that if they feel sympathy when they interact with different kinds of people, they will still feel the very idea to opt into more action. But the problem with the affirmative bench is that you simply rush these individuals to opt into that choice. And that's exactly what Deputy Prime Minister told us in his speech. At the point at which you rush these people choice, they never told us why this something is extremely beneficial or extremely important. We have to understand that when you rush to this choice, you don't consider it as whether it's something that's extremely optimal choice for yourself, which means that you might regret it when you die at the age of 90 on the affirmative bench. On the comparison, when you have many times to be able to think as to what you should do now, what you should do 20 years later, 30 years later, or 100 years later, we think that's something that's much more better on their side of opposition. But let's engage to the point about cherishing current moment, right? Because the government told us that there is different kinds of sacrifices that we need to make to be able to cherish the current moment under the status quo. We have to understand that people don't cherish or people don't feel tired automatically on their side of opposition. We agree that maybe some people might feel tired, but that is a short-term benefit, that is a short-term harm that we need to understand. People feel tired regardless of every situation. Even on their side of primitive, people feel tired regardless of the fact that they actually live in and of itself. The benefit that we are trying to achieve on their side of opposition is that when you have massive amounts of time, you are able to interact with different kinds of people. The society does change. The only response that came from the primitive bench is that there's no new ideas. But that's really weird, because if there's no new ideas and the side of, under status quo, then what exactly is people going to do? People will still have the inherent curiosity to be able to opt into different kinds of choices on their side of opposition. But moreover, we think it's something that's realistic, considering that the primitive bench concede that people to a certain extent gets tired under the status quo. That also implicitly implies the very fact that people will simply change their mind and change to simply opting to a different thing on their side of opposition. We think that was completely irrelevant that came from the primitive bench. But let's engage to this point of the structural problem out of 4, right? Because we have to understand that we agree that people don't die. Maybe you won't be able to get inheritance tax on their side of opposition. But at the very same time, as they conceded, people will feel tired on their affirmative bench, which means that people will feel like people will have a possibility of feeling tired of oppressing these people on the ground or not really caring about these people permanently. On their side of opposition, people still will feel tired. People will feel sympathetic about these people, and that's something that's extremely important. The mutually exclusive benefit that we are able to bring upon to you by having this life as an eternal thing is because we don't have limitation of time, we don't have limitation of money, we don't have limitation of happiness. We agree that every single happiness is contingent upon every single individual defining it by themselves. But at the very same time, for you to be able to maximize your happiness is contingent upon the idea that you are able to have massive amounts of time to be able to opt into different kinds of choices, considering different people have different kinds of goals in any situation. On the other side of opposition, when poor people are able to save their money, accumulate it for decades and decades, and to be able to buy things because they are able to have time, because they are able to grasp those dreams on their side of opposition, we think that's something that's extremely good, considering that people are able to opt in to different kinds of life, considering that people are able to differently interpret the way they actually live. We think that's something that's extremely important. Their benefit was not mutually exclusive, but our benefit was extremely proud to oppose.
my reply, I'm going to examine in what way what they want to achieve in the debate had failed, and in what ways our side benefit clearly stands in today's debate as opposition. So firstly, there are three things in which side proposition had said in today's debate. The first was legacy. There was, let's say, motivation that those sort of things. That argument in and of itself was assertive in two ways. Firstly, they have not talked about why legacy creation was the biggest motivation for human motivation to begin with. They have not compared to any other alternative reasons as to how we are motivated. But so we think that comparatively, while legacy was more important point in which we have to consider in today's debate, that was damaging. Second, they have talked about how we have to push our life. We have already dealt in two ways. Firstly, when people are happy right now, what is the necessity for individual to work more harder for the sake of individual welfare? For example, futon, which is made bed in Japan, obviously might maximize my welfare at a particular moment. Rise to often, for example, is very popular in university students. For example, we guarantee that there's no reason as to how we should push them ourselves if we are satisfied right now. But furthermore, innovation, those sort of things would occur because we are curious about something. We want to become new. It is a motivation for me to become pioneer, for example, to become a first one, or to become socially accepted by achieving some kind of success. It's a motivation for me to create some sort of new ideas within society. They have neglected on that. They have stick to their presumption without any engaging to our alternative. But secondly, they talk about how power structures, therefore, power structures finally. That can be more alleviated on our side because Keita, DPM, had talked about it is more likely for stigmatization as well as the human nature of refraining to do something immoral constantly and continuously. This allows individuals to become dictatorial in some occasion. If they're talking about, for example, politically oppressive, those sort of things, then your burden is to show. It is why uniquely problematic. United States of America, gun regulations, those sort of things, do not having politically oppressive. That's the status quo. Strength or lobby power, those sort of things is status quo. If they're talking about dictatorship, then we intervene. Then the kind of benefits in which side proposition is going to deal with is gradually very marginal. What was our concrete benefit? 4 things. Firstly, we maximize the opportunity for individual to self-actualize. That's a concrete benefit. Because the object of me or human beings is defined by my preferences, dream, and curiosity. It is a good thing for my dreams to come true as much as possible. And rather motivated because they are more likely for society as a whole to accept my talent, for example, or genuine preferences can be found, for example, after the examination of experience of other different lifestyles, for example, example of my grandpa, for example. And also it alleviates the unfortunate problem, so-called depression. There had no response at all from that side of the house. Lack of hope comes from the kind of limitation of life. Furthermore, we have talked about discriminatory nature of time. Firstly, we have told you the arbitrariness of the age in which you are born into. We would alleviate that with immortality. But secondly, in scheduling of life, in and of itself is something oppressive. Deputy Liberal Politician had talked about no response. Furthermore, we have already talked about how we can contribute to the human society because people with immortality recognize how beautiful and good human society is, and we think this motivates people to pursue and to preserve that kind of good society as much as possible. From these reasons, ladies and gentlemen, we're extremely proud to oppose.
Speaker. Here.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to tell you a story to conclude my efforts in order to conquer Japan. All right? So, well, the negative side has been consistent on the aspects that individual people have different motivations for the action that they commit. People might want to come to ICUT because they want to win. People read newspapers because they just like newspapers. The point that we were consistent on the affirmative side is that in order to motivate individuals to conduct good social moral actions, death is the ultimate sacrifice, and the death is the ultimate motivation to ensure that these individuals are coerced and conduct these actions that are beneficial to the rest of society. Without that concept of limited time, we believe that the complacency that is occurrent upon individual people is going to be prevalent, and that is what we were consistently talking under our side of the house. Let's engage with several issues upon what this debate was revolving around. Number one is regarding the aspect of how we cherish the current moment right now. What these guys would have you to believe is that you should cherish the cherishment of opportunities is better because you are exposed to other options and you have the chance to appreciate other situations in the future. The point and the reason why this argument falls is because this is irreflective to what my Prime Minister has discussed about upon how the quality of time is always the reason why it decreases the amount of satisfaction that you have within that particular moment, right? If Mitsushine continuously wins ICUT is probably nothing in his perspective, but the moment in where we win ICUT one time after so many efforts, the opportunities and the pleasures that we obtain is actually very, very big. But second of all, the moment that they discuss upon this argument is the moment in where the burden that they have to prove is why do the benefits of exposure to other opportunities supersedes the quality that you will receive from that one opportunity, Mr. Speaker. Just because you are exposed to multiple ideas does not automatically equate that you are experiencing like pleasurable life within the society. So therefore, because they were incapable of providing that comparative, that's the reason why the quality of life is something that we are willing to concede to. But third of all, and most importantly, they were incapable of proving why we can change the context of the status quo, the incentive structure that exists within the mentality of individuals. And that's exactly what my second issue is going to be about, right? The ideas of like incentive structures and how we change the mentality of individuals. These guys would have you believe that the reason why individuals are going to be tired of oppressing people or they are willing to redistribute their wealth is because they are tired. It is because they want to leave a reputation, Mr. Speaker. Not let alone the fact that this is a concession to our own arguments, Mr. Speaker, but they were never able to prove why self-conscious is a prioritized value compared to the wealth that you obtain right now. Because considering that if you continuously sustain your wealth in the status quo, this fundamentally means that the benefits that is derived from that wealth is distributed to you, but their mere argument was to say that we should rely on self-conscious, Mr. Speaker. Self-conscious is something that we are not willing to rely on because these guys have also conceded that human beings aren't the most beautiful people in the entire status quo right now. But second of all, they also conceded to the fact that sympathy is based upon your capability to empathize with other individuals. Jan was consistent and NC also talked upon if individual people are already healthy right now, your capacity to sympathize with other individuals also decreases in the status quo. And if that capacity decreases, your incentive to provide more benefits to other people decreases. A benefit that is only exclusive under our side of the house, because in order for us to supersede the short-term benefits that is only going to be derived from these individuals, it is limited time, Mr. Speaker. Limited time is the only aspect in which we could ensure that these individuals do not only prioritize short-term benefits compared to the long-term welfare that's going to be distributed to the rest of individuals. The third issue that I want to discuss about is upon the concept of new ideas. Mr. Speaker, in the context in where these individuals are continuously going to sustain their power, they're going to sustain their wealth, and they have no incentive whatsoever to distribute it to other people, in a context like that, we need innovative ideas to ensure that that type of structure is changed. That only occurs in a context in where passion is something that is intrinsic upon individuals. Passion is something that you are willing to prioritize compared to your own death. Because even if in the context that you are dying right now, you are still willing to put all of your efforts because you do not get another opportunity to do that. That's why we're very proud to propose.